He drives an $80,000 car and has $43 in the bank. She carries a designer bag worth more than her entire savings account. He brings up his investments at every dinner and owes more than he owns. None of them look broke. Almost nobody who's quietly broke does. Nearly half of Americans with a credit card carry a balance they can't pay off. Yet the parking lots keep filling with luxury cars, and the feeds keep filling with lifestyles that don't add up. Underneath a lot of what looks like wealth, something is quietly falling apart. And by the end of this, you'll be able to spot it in about 10 seconds, including, if you're honest, maybe in your own life. There's a difference between being broke and being quietly broke. Broke is loud and obvious. Quietly broke is calm on the surface and cracking underneath, the car, the clothes, the trips, all balanced on debt, with nothing real behind them. And here's what makes it so hard to see. Quiet wealth and quiet broke look almost the same from the outside. Same driveway, same watch, same easy smile. The only difference is in the accounts nobody gets to see. I'm going to give you 10 signs. Watch for the 10th one especially. It's quiet, it's easy to miss, and it's the reason all 9 of the others exist. Let's start with the one you can see from the street. The car is worth more than everything they've ever invested. A $40,000 vehicle parked outside a life with a few $1,000s to its name. And the cruel part is the timing. The car loses value every single day it sits there, while the investment account stays flat. People who are actually wealthy tend to buy the nice car after the money already exists, and even then it's a small slice of what they own. The quietly broke run it backwards. They buy the symbol first and wait for the wealth to show up. It rarely does, because the payment on that symbol quietly eats the exact money that could have grown into the real thing. The second sign is that their whole life runs on monthly payments. The phone, the furniture, the car, even last year's vacation, all sliced into just a little each month. Here's why that matters. Monthly payment thinking hides the real price. $1,200 quietly becomes $33 a month, and the question of whether they can actually afford it never comes up. Now think about your own bills for a second. If you added up every small payment you're carrying right now, would there be much left? For a lot of people who look completely comfortable, the honest answer is no. Their entire income is spoken for before it even lands. Quiet wealth thinks in total cost, not in monthly comfort. The third sign is personal for almost everyone. Every raise vanishes. More money comes in, and a nicer apartment, a newer car, a slightly better everything comes in right behind it. Income climbs for years while savings stay perfectly flat. It's called lifestyle creep, and it's exactly how people earning 6 figures stay quietly broke. Think about the last raise you got. Where did it actually go? If you can't quite answer that, you're not alone. That's the whole trick of it. Real wealth lives in the gap between what you earn and what you spend, and lifestyle creep closes that gap to 0, 1 upgrade at a time. A bigger income with no bigger gap just buys a more expensive version of broke. The fourth sign hides in plain sight because it's become so normal that nobody questions it. They lease the image instead of owning anything. A leased luxury car looks identical to an owned one in the driveway, but the lease never ends. Pay, return, lease again, pay, return again for years with no equity to show for any of it. Leasing is how people afford the monthly payment on a car they could never actually buy. The badge is real, the ownership isn't. And paying forever for something you'll never own, just to protect an appearance, is one of the quietest, most expensive ways to stay broke while looking successful. The fifth sign is that the whole lifestyle runs on credit instead of cash. The dinners, the trips, the constant new clothes, it photographs like success, but it's financed by a balance that grows a little every month. While the highlight reel says they've made it, interest is quietly working against them in the background. Americans owe well over $1 trillion in credit card debt, and a huge slice of the rich life you scroll past is simply borrowed. Here's a clean test. If the whole lifestyle would vanish the moment a credit line got cut, it was never wealth. It was rent being paid on an image, and that rent goes up every single month. Now the sixth sign, and this is where quietly broke turns genuinely dangerous because it stays completely invisible right up until the worst moment. They have no cushion, no emergency fund, nothing set aside at all. On the surface, everything runs smoothly. Underneath, they're one surprise away from the whole thing coming apart. One car repair, one medical bill, one slow month. That's the entire distance between fine and falling. Quiet wealth isn't the flashy part, it's the deeply boring 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting in an account no one ever sees. That silent buffer is the real line between someone who looks okay and someone who actually is. And most people find out which side they're on at the worst possible time. The seventh sign is that there's always a new opportunity that's finally going to change everything. A crypto flip, a dropshipping store, a course, a system, a can't-miss play they just discovered. They go all in, talk about it nonstop for a few weeks, then quietly go silent when it doesn't work and the loss is never mentioned again. A few months later, brand new opportunity, exact same certainty. Real wealth is built slowly and honestly a little boringly, over years. It almost never comes from turning $5,000 into a fortune by spring. But boring doesn't match the image, so the chase never stops. When someone can't stop talking about their next big thing, the current thing usually isn't working. The eighth sign is subtle, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. They talk about money constantly, but always money they're about to make. Picture the dinner where a friend mentions a small win, a promotion, a card finally paid off. Before anyone can even react, this person jumps in with the deal they've got closing next month, the investment that's about to change everything, and the whole moment quietly gets redirected onto them. Listen closely to the tense there. It's never money that already landed, always money that's coming. People who are genuinely secure barely mention it. They've got nothing to prove and no reason to. The ones performing wealth keep reminding everyone around them, and underneath, they're really reminding themselves. When someone can't stop describing the money on its way, it's usually because the money that's actually here isn't enough to feel calm about. The ninth sign is that nothing seems to count unless someone is watching. Every purchase gets posted, every experience documented, every dinner up on a story before the plates are even cleared. At some point, the photo of the trip starts to matter more than the trip itself. When wealth is real, it doesn't need an audience. It exists whether or not a single person notices. But when the appearance is the asset, it has to be seen to feel real. And here's the uncomfortable part. Showing off gets attention, and showing discipline gets almost none. Nobody films the quiet Saturday spent saving money, so the performance gets louder while the balance sheet stays empty. If someone's wealth only seems to exist when the camera is on, it probably isn't there when it's off. And the 10th sign, the one I told you to watch for, is the quiet reason all 9 of the others exist. They have no idea what they're actually worth. Ask them their net worth and there's no real answer, because they've never once sat down and subtracted what they owe from what they own. They measure how they look, never what they have. That's the engine underneath everything else. You can't feel the weight of $100,000 in debt if you never add it up. The quietly wealthy know their number, they watch it grow, and they build their decisions around it. The quietly broke avoid that number, because looking at it honestly would end the story. You can't build wealth you refuse to measure, and the people faking it are almost always the ones most afraid to look. So there it is, the car worth more than the portfolio, the life run on payments, the vanishing raises, the leased image, the credit-funded lifestyle, the missing cushion, the endless opportunities, the future tense money talk, the constant audience, and the number they refuse to check. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. But here's the question worth sitting with, and I genuinely like your honest answer in the comments. Which of these 10 hit a little too close to home? Because the point was never to judge the person in the expensive car. It's to make sure you're quietly building something real instead of loudly performing something empty. Real wealth is quiet. It grows slowly, in accounts nobody sees, until one day you look up and realize you have options most people only pretend to have. The person who looks broke might be the calmest, wealthiest one in the room, and now you know exactly why.